So, WWE's released another top 50 list. Let's talk about it, shall we? I'm John Rentham with my real honest thoughts on WWE's 50 Greatest Tag Teams Part 1. Couple notes. Firstly, I'm sorry for this video being delayed, but I've been busy with other projects and also work, and there's only so many hours in the day, so I'm just getting to it now. And second note, I'm aware of the entire list outside of the placement of a couple teams in the top 20. But I am aware of who they named as the #1 team in WWE history of all time, and I will get to that in due course. I will say that this is probably going to end up being a 3-part series because I'm not going to have a lot to say about some of these teams, and the placement is all over the goddamn map, but it won't be as rant-filled as some parts were when I covered the WWE 50 Greatest Women list. And also, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comments as far as like some of these teams. Do you feel other teams should have been mentioned? And I do want to also say that as far as Breezango hosting, one, I hope Fandango and Tyler Breeze find, other suitable work since they got released shortly after this list was done. Because they are good workers and they do, they could add value to various companies. Just they've been with WWE so long, it was what it was. Check out my videos on the releases if you would like to know more of what I thought. Would you like to know more? Click. May retro review Starship Troopers soon, by the way. So they're ranking the WWE tag teams of the last 50 years, or almost last 50 years, and based on longevity, title reigns, and such. And they aren't including teams like Harlem Heat, Hollywood Blondes, Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express, even though Rock and Roll Express had a few appearances in WWE. It is what it is, but if they just didn't focus on WWE-centric ones that worked elsewhere, but, especially made their mark in WWE, half of these teams wouldn't have made it on the list because you would have had to go to world class with the Von Erichs and the AWA and stuff like that, Patterson and Stevens, and Championship Wrestling from Florida and stuff like that, and Crockett's and all that. So it is what it is. So as far as the WWE-centric list, I think they got more right than they didn't get right, but let's just talk about the rest. Narrated by Todd Pettengill, that was really cool. It's really nice to hear from Todd again, voice of the new generation era. And really, even though he wasn't a wrestling fan, he had that voice. It worked, and he provides some energy here. So number 50 is the Bushwhackers. So we see a bit of footage of them as the sheep herders where, honestly, they bled so much, I'm amazed they had any blood left in their bodies by the time they got to WWE. Vince McMahon was being more cartoonish and more, kid-friendly, so he gave them the Bushwhacker gimmick, and honestly, they didn't have to work as hard. Their bodies were beat to shit. I mean, if you see how they worked even in the late, the mid to late 80s when they were the sheep herders, and they had already been working for a while there, it's amazing they were able to do anything in WWE, but they were comedic and they got over. And I honestly would have ranked them a little bit higher here because they're more memorable than some of the teams that were ahead of them. And maybe that's just because, I'm 40 years old and I remember them as as a child like of the late 80s, early 90s, and remembering them pretty fondly. But let's be honest, did they have memorable matches? No. But did they make their mark? Absolutely. So, in the Hall of Fame induction, they deserved it. They were very gracious, and that was nice to see. So, we go number 49. Too Cool. They had energy. They could work. Brian Christopher and Scotty 2 Hotty did have some good energy, and you threw Rikishi in there, and they were a trio. See, this is another team I don't think would have been on there. Now, that being said, they were over in the Attitude Era. They got big reactions. Their music got pops. WORM, Scotty got some reactions. Christopher did to an extent, but Scotty was more the guy that they gravitated to. They weren't a bad team. I don't remember anything memorable they did in the ring. So pretty much like the Bushwhackers, except they weren't together nearly as long. So we go to number 48, the Quebecers. Footage of the future Raven, Johnny Polo, as their manager. That's hilarious to me. They're not the Mounties, but they always get their man. And they get the gold. They are, 3-time tag team champions. Had memorable matches with the Hart Foundation, where Owen kicked Brett's leg out of his leg. I'm always going to remember that. And lost to the Head Shrinkers right after Mania 10. The Quebecers are really good, and I would say deserve their spot here. Would I have ranked them a little bit higher? Maybe. In all honesty, I think that they're a team I remember as far as like having, pretty good matches, and they really could work. So there we go. I will say that they absolutely deserve to be here. 47, the Smoking Guns. I would have ranked them in the top 30, or at least closer to 30, because I remember the Smoking Guns pretty fondly. A lot of this is WWE-centric, nowism, as some people have said. But the Smoking Guns, they were together for a number of years. Tag team champions. They were face, they were heel. They wrestled in jeans. That right there should have ranked them a lot higher. It's not easy to wrestle in jeans, but they really could work. Billy and Bart were a damn good team. And, Yeah, the music was a little bit hokey and the whole smoking gun thing and cowboy stuff, it was cartoonish. But once they got in the ring, they could go and they could do some good shit. And I would have ranked them a lot higher than this. Number 46, Strike Force. That late 80s theme, sweet fucking Jesus. Tito Santana and Rick Martel, long reigning tag champs. They got together in 87. And just, it was funny hearing, Santana's, Hispanic accent and Martel's very, very, very French-Canadian accent just doing promos. And I don't know why it made me laugh looking back on it, but it did. Hell of a team. Very good tag team champions. High energy. Definitely stood out in the tag team division. It was very loaded at this time in WWE. So yeah, 100% Strike Force deserves to be there. And then Martel turning on Tito Santana and becoming the model. And yes, I am a model. You just need to look at the button to be reminded of that. But yeah, they deserve to be here. Head Shrinkers, Samu and Fatu, hard hitting. They were tag team champions right after Mania 10. And it was weird to see them as faces, but they worked pretty well. I do remember Fatu having a very, very good match against Bret Hart right before Mania 9. Oh, Mania 9. And then they said Fatu, a.k.a. Rikishi, went on to have a Hall of Fame career. Okay. I mean, if you take a look at the totality of it, him as part of the Samoan SWAT team, as a Head Shrinkers, but then he was Fatu trying to make a difference. He was the Sultan. Then he was Rikishi. And he did have he did get big reactions as Rikishi. But by 2002, he didn't mean shit. He'd been heel. He turned back. He was kind of just there. He also had weight issues and stuff like that. But I mean, I guess they put people in the Hall of Fame for less. Not just in Celebrity Wing, but in general. But I don't know if I would have said based on just, him having a Hall of Fame career as a single. Big reaction, sure, but I mean, what? He was like a one-time Intercontinental Champion. He was a multi-time Tag Team Champion. Sure, is what it is, but Head Shrinkers, pretty damn good team, and they're memorable. So we get to 44, X-Pac and Kane, two-time Tag Champions. Okay, so this was when X-Pac was, trying to get Kane to be more human and stuff like that, and they got some reactions, but I don't know. This was the first Team Hell No, essentially. Except Daniel Bryan was better in the ring than X-Pac was at this, when they teamed up. X-Pac wasn't nearly the performer he was because he has issues, even though he could still do some stuff. And thank God he's clean now. But Team Hell No was better. That's why they're ranked higher. Spoiler alert. Kane and X-Pac, they got reactions. They had their stuff, and then they would feud. But I don't know. I would have ranked. I wouldn't have ranked them below or above the Smoking Guns, in my opinion. I would have ranked them maybe number 50. But they did get some big reactions. So we go to number 43. Flair and Batista should have been ranked about number 49 because Flair, don't get me wrong, tag team champions. Batista's really good. Flair brought him along and they had some memorable moments. But they weren't together that long. People say, they debuted in January of 2003. And then Batista suffered a torn tricep and was out till like October of 2003. And then they weren't, I don't even think they were tag team champions much after Mania 20. I mean, maybe they were. I'm trying to get it in my head, but I don't think they were. And it just got to the point where, like they just shoved a bunch of tag team title reigns in there. They were a good team, but I wouldn't have ranked them this high. Not above the Smoking Guns, and not above Strike Force, not above the Head Shrinkers. M&M should have been way higher. M&M, even though they were only together for like about 2 years, OVW, and then on the main roster in WWE. Mercury, Nitro, and Melina. Mercury Nitro, Joey Mercury and Johnny Nitro, now John Morrison with his dripping stick. Have fun on seeing that. They were a good team. Really good. Stood out even when tag team wrestling was not really focused on. Had great matches with a variety of opponents. They should have been ranked higher for having to put over the LOD or the de facto LOD that wasn't very good. They made LOD 2000 look good by comparison of Heidenreich and Road Warrior Animal. That was just there to hype up the DVD, the Life and Times of the Road Warriors. But M&M, I think, should have gotten up there, into the 30s because they had they left their mark. They left their mark and really did have some good stuff. They, had that great entrance. Melina did her splits and then backstage. But I digress. Mercury and Nitro were a damn good team, and Melina added a lot to them. She was more than just a manager. She adds some spice to their gimmick. Because she basically was the gimmick. Or she basically was, part of the gimmick. She wasn't just, a small fraction of it. But I would have ranked them higher. Nasty Boys, number 41. Yeah, they were WWE Tag Team Champions. They did better as far as Tag Team Gold in WCW. They also wrestled in the AWA and WWE. They were in WCW in '89 and then left and joined WWE, and became Tag Team Champions at SummerSlam, or not SummerSlam, Mania 7, and then SummerSlam '91 is when they lost them. And after that, they would flounder. They would do some stuff. They would flounder around, and by '93 they would go. And they were good. I'm not the biggest Nasty Boys fan, but they had their moments. And if they're just based on WWE accolades, I get why they're this low. But if they're going to mention the WCW Tag Team Championships, they probably should have been ranked a little bit higher than this. Because for a period, they put on some pretty damn good matches. Even when you took them out of the tag team title picture in WCW, they did some good stuff. But yeah, they were pretty good. They were rough around the edges. By God, were they ever? But they were pretty good. And then we get to number 40, Rated RKO. Okay, while good, they weren't together long enough, in my opinion, to warrant this ranking. The star power was there. Orton and Edge won the tag titles from Piper and Flair when Piper had the unfortunate, I think, a cancer-ish diagnosis, if I recall correctly. That's why their title reign ended very shortly after it began. I think only like 8 days later. And they had, or 8 days later, something like that. And Edge and Orton were a good team, but it just feels like once they as soon as they were together in tag team champions, they lost the titles and they went their separate ways. And I'm not talking about the Garbage song. Wait, that's Wicked Ways. I'm sorry, I get the words confused. I just wouldn't put Rated RKO this high. I'd put them a little lower. But for star power, I get why. London and Kendrick, way higher. They deserve to be way higher. They were tremendous. Paul London, Brian Kendrick, very good. That TLC match at Armageddon 2006, but other matches that they made the tag division mean something when tag team, like the tag team, hierarchy was not great. Not that there weren't tag teams, but it was like it was being pushed down on the ladder, so to speak, and London and Kendrick stood out. 334 days as tag team champions. They really held them for a while. In my opinion, should have held them for a year. They lost them to Deuce and Domino, who are not on this list and shouldn't be on this list, all due respect to the guys that tried to make it work, but they were not featured right. London and Kendrick were great. I think maybe part of the reason they're not ranked that high is maybe, WWE Nowism, and also maybe Vince is still pissed that Paul London smiled when he did the limo explosion thing. It was funny. I laugh to this day. So, number 38, DIY. I can agree with this. They were good rivals. They were good teammates. And that freaking 2 out of 3 falls match against the Revival at TakeOver Toronto still sticks out in my goddamn mind. The adulation, if you will, which is so funny and so close to a word that I wanted to say, was an explosion. They came all over themselves with adulation. Have fun on seeing that when DIY finally won the tag titles. And it was great shit. And then they would become rivals and they would do all this stuff and they would drive that feud into the goddamn ground. But they were a great team. They worked well together, and I would have ranked them a little bit higher than some of the teams here, but it was what it was. DIY definitely deserves to be mentioned, and that 2 out of 3 falls, money, fucking money. I need to watch it again, probably sometime this weekend. So, hey, wait, retro review. I could do a retro review this November, since that event will be 5 years old. And that's considered retro. Goddamn, I'm old. So, World's Greatest Tag Team, Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin. Definitely, absolutely. Tag team champions, part of Team Angle, and then the World's Greatest Tag Team when Team Angle disbanded. And then they went their separate ways, and Shelton had great success. And poor Charlie. I hope Charlie turns his life around. If you've seen recent video, you know what I'm talking about. Charlie Haas, I really hope it's going to be okay. This business is a goddamn bitch, but I hope he can turn his life around and friends can help him. But they were a great team. They had great moments. Super agile. They even reunited in 2007 and had a blowaway ladder match against the Hardys at One Night Stand 2007, a forgotten classic in my opinion. And they were just a great team. Now we get to I would have flip-flopped this. I would have put Money Inc. Money Inc.'s number 36. I would have put them below the World's Greatest Tag Team. Look, they were tag team champions for a while, and Ted DiBiase and IRS, given the miles on their body, especially DiBiase at this point, and Mike Rotundo was no spring chicken, but wrestled well into, for a couple of years after this, and then would go be VK Wall Street in WCW. Gee, I wonder who that was a shot at. But they were a good team. I just don't think that they deserve to be ranked this high, because once they lost the tag titles, what was it, like Ted DiBiase left, went to All Japan, and then came back to WWE when he suffered a neck injury, which made sense. He couldn't wrestle anymore. So he became a commentator and then a manager. I just feel like they could have put Money Inc. like a little bit lower on this list, and it wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have been a slight, because as good of a team as they were, I don't know. Something about this didn't quite feel right to me. No disrespect to those two guys. Number 35, Jericho. Okay, really? Fucking really? Chris Jericho and Big Show deserve to be ranked above all those other great tag teams when they were together for, what, like, they were together for like not even a year. I think it was like 7-8 months. Fucking seriously? No. That's all I gotta say about that. No. Number 34, natural disasters. I'll agree with this. Typhoon, earthquake, the future Shockmaster, aka Tugboat, poor Uncle Fred, and Earthquake. They were a good powerhouse tag team, and while Tenta had, some years on him, and Typhoon would then go and trip over and fall on his ass, as British Bulldog said later in WCW, they were a pretty good, monster tag team, and they started to get some face reactions, and then they would go their separate ways. But yeah, tag team champions, they had some memorable moments. I'm not gonna say like they had any classic matches, but as far as tag teams at that time, they stood out, and not just because of their size. 33, Street Profits. This is Nowism. Street Profits are good. They are really talented. I hope Montez Ford's going to be all right, because apparently, as of this recording, he's dealing with an injury. But me personally, I would have ranked them number 40 maybe. They had a tag team title run, and they did work in NXT and have, some memorable moments there. But I don't know. I think maybe this is more of just my jaded opinion towards how I think that they're just kind of irritating right now, but they are what they are. They're not a bad team. They're very well they work very well in the ring. It's just all of it just kind of just blends together for me. Are they good? Yes. But would I rank them this high? No. But it is what it is. So we go number 32, the Briscoes. Okay, so Gerald Briscoe and Jack Briscoe, they were inducted in the Hall of Fame. They had many memorable moments in Jim Crockett Promotions, won titles all over, and were in WWE for a cup of coffee. Jack Briscoe, former NWA champion, then basically, according to, I believe, JR said, he saw a snowstorm. He's like, I'm done. Oh, you mean you're done after touring? No, I am done. As of this moment, I'm done. And they left. Or he left. I mean, Gerald Briscoe stuck around. But I just got to say that, and I don't blame Jack Briscoe at all. He'd been wrestling for like 20 fucking years. And probably was sick of the travel. But as far as accolades all over the world, they deserve it. They do deserve it. I mean, that freaking match they had with Steamboat and Youngblood, that alone. But not just that one match. They had memorable matches all over, and even their brief WWE run, they stood out for a little bit, but they weren't there that long to make an impression. That being said, they were a good team. They were a good team and deserve to be mentioned here. So we go 34. We go all the way back to the top. No, 31, Harper and Rowan. This is nothing against Harper. Brody Lee, rest in peace, Brody Lee. Nothing against Rowan. They were a good monster tag team. They were great in the Wyatt family. They were good as Bludgeon Brothers. It was great when myself and the Durbinator would do, the voice thing. Because we wouldn't be able to see them talking. They would just be facing like this until the lights came on. And we would just joke around about what they were saying. And we would just have fun. And we would just ad-lib, because that's what best friends do. And I'm going to say right now, I miss doing videos with my best friend. And soon it will happen. Or hopefully it'll happen soon. But if it doesn't, he's my best friend first, co-host second. Now, back to the list. They should have been lower. They were a good team, good monster team. Harper did stand out. Rowan was very good in tag teams, not so good as a single. That stairs match pretty much killed that off. Then again, that stairs match, sweet Jesus, that stair match, good God, make it stop. They did some good stuff. But I would have ranked them a little bit. I would have ranked them maybe number 35. I don't know. I would have ranked other teams above them. Do I have a problem with them being above the Street Profits? Yeah, no. I mean, I get it, but I would have ranked them a little bit lower. That's just my personal thing. But they were good. They were good, and they complemented each other well. 30, Bulldog and Owen, tag team champions, very long reigning. They also had the family tensions and stuff like that. But Bulldog and Owen, as far as two single stars that became a tag team, they worked well together, put on many memorable matches. They had that great, it was two tag team champions facing off against each other in the European Championship Finals in Germany on that Raw, which was fucking tremendous. But yeah, there's no doubt the Bulldog and Owen deserve their place on here. But as much as I love them, I almost would have ranked them a few spots lower because once they lost the tag titles, they were still together in the Hart Foundation. And then after the Montreal Screwjob, Owen was the only one there, and that was it. They were only together maybe a year and a half, and which is not bad compared to some of the teams on here. But as much as I love them, as much as I love their tag title reigns, as much as two my favorites, and Owen and Bulldog both taken away from us way too soon, I don't know if I would have ranked them this high. But they were a very good team. We then get to number 29, Miz and Morrison. Okay, fine. I would have put them lower. But as far as modern WWE, the greatest tag team in the 21st century, I mean, it's a short list. If they mean in WWE, sure. If they mean in the 21st century, in all of the major companies, they ain't even fucking close. They probably ain't even in the top 20. But they did make some memorable moments. Then they went to separate ways, and now they're back together and stuff like that. Miz is rehabbing from his ACL injury, which hopefully he can. I mean, so let's see, that was May. He's probably not going to be back until the Rumble. But at times they're entertaining. A lot of times they annoy me, and not annoying in a heel way, just like, well, I don't want to see these fuckers anymore. But I would have put them lower. But I can see why they're here. So we get to number 28, The Bar, Sheamus and Cesaro. Sheamus and Cesaro. They worked well together after being in that Best of 7 series, and they were a tremendous team. They don't just set the bar, they are the bar. I would have liked if Noam Dar would have joined them. We just don't set the Dar. We are the Dar. Because I'm stupid like that. But yeah, they worked well. 5-time tag team champions in 2 years. They made matches mean something. They were hard-hitting, worked very well together, and I think it helped Sheamus, who was dealing with some injuries, and Cesaro, that fucking hot tag that he got where he just went nuts and just clubbed everybody, and just, it was like that 45-second viral clip that went around, or at least viral for wrestling fans, where you just see how great Cesaro is, and you're like, oh, now we're just realizing how really great Cesaro is. But as a tag team, yes, they were very, very good, and they should be mentioned here. I don't mind them being mentioned right here. They were only together for a couple of years, but they were a very good team, and it's hard not to appreciate them, especially, I remember more of their shit than I do Miz and Morrison. So, we get number 27, Team Hell No, Daniel Bryan and Kane. Okay, yeah. I'm the tag team champions. No, I'm the tag team champions. No, I'm the tag team champions. I've got diagrams, Kane. Diagrams. I've got diaphragms, Kane. Gross. So anyway, the comedy antics, the anger management, and becoming tag team champions and working well together, being the unlikely tag team, and gelling, it gave Kane some, new life, and it helped Daniel Bryan because the crowd was on Daniel Bryan's side. They were realizing they couldn't get the crowd to boo Daniel Bryan no matter how much they tried. And no, Mania 30, it was not the plan to make the fans hate the WWE and cheer for Daniel Bryan. They wanted Daniel Bryan to face Sheamus, and I'm not going to let them forget that. But as Team Hell No, they had a lot of memorable moments. They would then lose the tag titles to The Shield, Rollins and Roman specifically, and that was about it. So I would definitely agree with them being ranked this high. We get to Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov. Well, they were involved in the first involved in the first title change period at WrestleMania 1, and they were hated. Fans would throw trash in the ring. Sheik was great at getting heat. Nikolai Volkov both doing the singing of their national anthem. Nikolai Volkov and Iron Sheik absolutely deserve to be mentioned on here. Like, why would they not? They were fucking great. I know, I think by like the later 80s, they were obviously broken up, but they were a great team for a period of years and could just get a lot of anger. Even though WWE at the time was trying to, go in a little more rock and wrestling connection, they still got a lot of anger from the fans. And that was hard to do. But Sheik embraced it, Nikolai embraced it, and, it was great shit. So they absolutely deserve to be mentioned here. Being mentioned right near the top 25, I can definitely agree. And then we go to number 25, Los Guerreros. I love Eddie. I love Chavo. They were very entertaining, and they did a lot of great shit in the ring. I don't know if I would have ranked them number 25, maybe a few spots lower. That being said, they are a great team, and they deserve their praise, their accolades, and all that stuff. They are very, very good, and 100% should be mentioned in the upper echelon, especially of like the last 20 years of WWE tag teams. Of all time, there are others that you could rank above them, but as far as entertainment and everything and stuff they could do, when tag team wrestling on SmackDown was rising up and everything, they were former tag team champions. And then they would end up, disbanding in late 2003 when Chavo would attack Eddie, and they would do that. And then Eddie would just beat the shit out of Chavo at the Royal Rumble and go on from that. They would have singles careers after that. I wish Eddie's had gone on longer. Rest in peace, Eddie Guerrero, one of the hardest deaths I've had to deal with. But they absolutely deserve to be mentioned. As far as a great team, I don't know if I would have ranked them this high, but they are very, very good. That's where I'm going to leave this list. I've got the rest of the parts to watch, and I will do the other parts in due course. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.